I have lived in seasons of success. And a challenge with seasons of success, I have won well and I have failed miserably. The seasons of success, though, have start and stops. And John says you got to realize if you're in a leadership role, if you're in a leadership position, there is no finish line. And if you are in a significant space, you don't get to measure a finish line. There is no finish line in your significance space.
Hello, this is Doug, and welcome to the podcast. I have a newer acquaintance in my world named Adam Roach, and Adam is joining us in the podcast. Thanks, Adam.
Hey, Doug, thanks for the invite. Excited to be here and excited to talk leadership with you.
Yeah, super fun. So, Adam, the name of your company is I Love Coaching, so that was intriguing. I got introduced to you by a close friend,
Mhm.
Tim Winters, who we both know well, and it's just fun to hear. So, but before that, tell us a little bit about who you are and what's your story? How did you
Oh,
get from here to there?
well, we can go back to the time, Doug, when I had hair, but that may take way too long to get to now.
Yeah.
Though, no, it's simple language. Native Hoosier, grew up in Indiana, and as we talked a little before pre-podcast here, I'm excited about where the Hoosiers football team landed this past
Yeah.
year, winning the national
The
championship.
whole
That was
world is. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. No, what's really neat is I look back, and this just hit me to say, I grew up the grandson of a farmer in Indiana.
Mhm.
And many generations before me, we jokingly said I'm a fourth generation Roach from Indiana. I was the first generation off the farm. And so getting to watch my grandfather, my grandmother, we looked at the farm as kind of a playground, though that was hard work for them, and that's got in hard work instilled in me at an early age. My father was an Olympic swim coach. I played collegiate tennis, tried to play professional tennis, and found out real quick, Doug, that I was an American, not a European. Was getting my butt kicked every which way, but the right way. Got into the tennis business out in Southern California. Got in the real estate business out in Southern California, and wound up in Charleston, South Carolina 2013, where I was buying real estate franchises and sold all those in 2019 when my father passed from
Mhm.
Parkinson's related issues. And when I when I was able to speak his eulogy and see the impact he had had on so many people, both athletes and coaches and parents, as a coach, I knew that there was something that I was missing. And I called it the beach chair moment here when I came back to Charleston. I sat on a beach chair and I'm a spiritual guy. So I prayed. I had my Bible with me. I journaled. I cried. I kept sunscreen on my bald head and just kept asking, what's next, God? What's next? And I kept hearing this scripture in my head, Proverbs 13:20. I'll read it right here exactly. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools self or harm. And I
Mhm.
kept hearing, surround yourself with better people. Not that the people I was around with, Doug, were bad people, though I was being called to go serve at a higher level. And so I went to my pastor and I said, what do you think I'm hearing here? And he said, I think I'm hearing you need to surround yourself with different people. And so he said, have you ever considered selling your franchises? And I thought, no. And he says, well, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if you're feeling a higher calling, then you probably should surrender to it. And so I
Mhm.
prayed about it and I walked in the same day, three investor meetings, back to back to back, three different areas. And I said, hey, easy conversation. Either I'm buying you all out or you're buying me out. And I don't care which one it is, you all can decide. And so they all decided to buy me out. So that was 2019. And I stepped into this space of creating the I Love Coaching community, Doug, back then. And the idea was that I believe that everybody, it doesn't have to be in the athletic space, doesn't have to be in the business space. I believe that everybody has an opportunity to use their past experiences to better other people,
Mhm.
right? And that to me is the calling that I have now on my world and my life to build what I've created called the I Love Coaching community. It's a community of coaches we serve, right? It doesn't matter what industry, it doesn't matter what vertical, it doesn't matter. We know that you're in that space to serve other people. And if you choose to build a business around it, Doug, we'll help you do that. And outside of that, though, we've been blessed to be on four continents now of community members. And
Mm,
here we are, 2026, just thriving.
mm. And how do you define coaching? I didn't even ask you that before. So coaching sounds like a broad the way of encouraging and developing others? Is it?
Coaching is gosh, that's a great question.
Mhm.
When I think of coaching, I think of three P's, right? I think of proximity to you. And proximity, everyone has, Rory Vaden says it best. You're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you used to be. And if you think about what that means is, Doug, you don't have to go and reinvent a wheel in a specific space. You literally just have to go back to your own problem solution cycles that you had yesterday and go help yourself 2 days ago, right? You can be a chapter ahead and still serve someone who's a chapter behind. Coaching, if you want to get into the real language of coaching, that's where we use the word process, right? What is the process that you have that you can help and serve other people? If I look at my father being an Olympic swim coach, his process was how can we reduce time so you can have a better outcome? In our world, it is how can we help you identify your calling? Because what we've noticed is a lot of people are sitting in seats that they've already had success in, and they're feeling a little itch to go somewhere else, but they don't know how to act or react to that itch. And so they stay in this seat of success, but they're done, right? They're ready for something else and they haven't committed to it. So we actually help coach them into how to step into that next step.
Mm. Yeah, that's so interesting. So it's really a broad. So I was trained in the field of professional coaching, right? I have a master's certified, whatever, MCC level training at
Uh,
ICF. And that coaching is really specific to one-on-one or small group coaching
right.
for development. I love the use of the word coaching here. And I know you're part of the John Maxwell. Are you part of the John Maxwell coaching tree? Is that what it is? Or is it similar to that? What's
Yeah,
okay.
2009, I became a John Maxwell certified coach.
Okay.
And that's when John entered my life. Was it 2009? Yeah, 2009. This is when, Doug, I saw some, I didn't know the word at the time, scale. I figured out later John had scaled way beyond,
Right.
other things that I had experienced. And here's what I mean by that. They only took 500 people in the initial certification process because I think they were still figuring it out themselves. And I sat at a table of 10 people, and there was only two Americans at this table.
Mm,
Everybody else was from non-continental United States, Europe,
mm.
South Africa. I think there was someone at our table from New Zealand, and I thought, wow, John's reach is vast,
Yes.
and he is scaling something at a large pathway. So, yeah, John's been in my life since then. Just blessed to have him as a dear mentor, friend, and coach now. And gosh, there's so many things I could share about him for sure.
Yeah. Well, actually, I want to go back to your story. Fascinating because I do think I actually drove somebody to the airport this morning, a colleague, before this podcast that was an orthopedic surgeon,
Mm.
and now she's resetting her career and wants to in full-time photography. I'm
Mm.
like, who does that, right?
Sure.
And partly is because she aged and she got to a point to where she could retire,
Hmm.
and she was just talking through the process of giving up, a very productive orthopedic surgery career
Sure.
and letting go of that reinforcement cycle is the only way I can call it. That includes money and to follow something she's passionate about. And you did that. You sold your real estate agencies or whatever they
Mhm.
were, a series of them, so that you could do what? What did
Yes.
you?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. So I got to do what? My experience was a true faith-based surrendering component of I don't really know what's next,
Right.
though I do know that the container that I'm in is no longer serving me the way that I'm being called to serve others.
Mm,
And and that was I had a software company around at the same time. And I thought to myself, okay, well, if I'm to surround myself with other people, I've got to step into a lane that I actually have passion around, and that is coaching. And I have a software company that was called Recruiting Bridge at the time. And so I thought, well, I'll just start coaching the people who are using the software because I created the software and I knew what the software was for. And I was one of those people who was using the software. So I'm just going to start coaching those people. And it was almost like a Jerry Maguire moment where I was holding the goldfish and was like, who's with me? But no, I mean, I didn't have anybody with me. And I had a few coaches of the coaching company that I left say, hey, we want to do what you're doing. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, well, you're coaching other people, but you're coaching them in the recruiting space. We want to coach other people, but we don't want to be under this umbrella anymore. I said, okay, what do you need from me? And they said, can you generate leads for us? I was like, I'm sure I can. And so I did. So that's kind of how the whole thing started.
Okay.
And it wasn't until 2023 that I moved it from, I call that like a dependent model where people are dependent on me. I didn't want people to be I love coaching coaches. I wanted it to be a community of coaches who are all independent. And so I went to a more membership-based model. And the membership-based model now allows for um, just the ability for coaches to plug into a process that we have called the blueprint to build one-on-one coaching business, group coaching businesses, and then scale it to a seven-figure coaching business. So I didn't have that, Doug. I didn't know what was next. I was just like,
Yep.
okay, I'm gonna take this leap of faith and feel my way to that next process. Now, I also had nearly a seven-figure exit, and so that gave me time, right? That
Sure.
gave me time.
Yeah. Yeah, it does help, of course.
Mm.
And thanks for acknowledging. And I think some people listen to people like us, as we talked on the pre-discussion.
Yeah.
Think, oh yeah, we got it all figured out. But it's interesting because when you work with people that don't have a faith component, these kind of moves are very odd, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so just to shift, and so the world, the culture would say, well, we want to follow our passion. That doesn't always make sense to people. So I don't think it's about passion, it's about a calling. And
Yeah.
you definitely sense something unique in a calling way that I think is it's noble and it's attractive. And people are interested in that. They just don't understand it. So
Well, the other thing we have to identify here is it's scary,
yeah.
right? It's scary
Yeah.
because of this one word that I've really started to dissect, and that's uncertainty,
Hmm.
right? If we go get a 9 to 5, right? I'll just call it, say, W-2. Nothing wrong with the W-2. You have certainty in, okay, I've committed to this space to solve a problem for this company in this one container. I call things containers. And for that, they're going to pay me this amount. Great. There's certainty there. When you're stepping into a 1099 space or you're stepping into a K1 space, there's uncertainty in that. And last year, it doesn't sound like a big number, though through our community and through our blueprint, we helped 18 people create certainty from one seat to another, meaning
Mm,
that they had what we call a survivor job, but they felt called to coach. And so we helped them create clarity there and then create a business around that clarity, so much so that they were able to step out of their survivor job and into this vertical of coaching on their own for themselves and work probably half, if not two-thirds less time
right.
and serve people now, right?
Right.
So yeah, uncertainty is a big thing that we experience when people step into our world because they want to know and they feel called to serve, or in the general language that we're using here, people may feel called to do something else and they may be a little scared.
Yeah. Or a lot scared.
A lot
I'm,
scared.
I'm a
Yeah.
psychologist. I'll go with fear. Fear is absolutely a crippler
Oh,
for
yeah, it,
for
it definitely is.
innovation, for passion, for creativity. It's a, I'm doing a keynote here coming up soon to a bunch of 20-year-olds, and it's something about your next big idea hides right behind your fear,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Because that's we have so many great ideas, but our fear just blocks us. So I think it's a big deal.
Well, I think to fear, it's interesting, Doug, because isolation, if, and we experience this all the time, we watch. 'Cause isolation, if if and, and we experience this all the time, we watch. 'Cause isolation, if if and, and we experience this all the time, we watch. 'Cause isolation, if if, and, and we experience this all the time, we watch. 'Cause isolation, if if, and, and we experience this all the time, we watch. we have pipeline of wannabe coaches. We have pipeline of coaches who want to make transition and they don't always make the transition. We have a conversion rate. We understand the conversion rate. And what happens is we know that uncertainty, which causes fear, is created by a past conditioning of one thing or another. But what
Right.
most people do in that case, Doug, is they go into isolation or they don't allow that fear to be exposed to someone else or to a community or something along those lines so that in other individual or that community can help them through that fear
Right.
because if we stay in some spiritual based language, we know in isolation, the enemy comes and gets you
Mm.
hard, right? The enemy will tell you that you're not good enough, will tell you that this is too big of a risk, will tell you all those things. And the scariest part, it's one thing to be told that, Doug. The scarier part is to believe it.
Yeah. Well, it could also be your family members. It could be people that
Yeah,
are expecting you to hold certainty for them.
sure.
So
Yeah.
it's not always dressed up in the evil that it looks appear. It's
Hmm.
evil is very clever, as we know. It's
Very
disguised.
clever, for sure.
Yeah, I love this. So from isolation to community, and that's why you want to build a coaching community. I love coaching community because we don't want people to isolate. It's
Yeah.
we know this. It's just we're really bad at it. And
Mhm.
most faith communities around the country always have the word community in their name, and they haven't the foggiest idea how to create it, in my
Mhm.
humble opinion.
Well,
It's hard to create a community.
yeah, here's so I study our avatar really, really closely, and I'm always redefining it too. Because some people think that it's an easy way out to make money in the coaching space. Some people think it's as John would say, a positional leadership type title. And here's who I look for are people who are looking to transform, right? And again, in any vertical, it doesn't matter, but I'm talking about the human now. I'm talking about the
Right.
person who is willing to transform. And this is what I say to anybody that I am either interviewing for the community or we have in our challenges. I always start our challenges off this way, is I look at transformation in three different ways. Transformation starts with humility. And the humility aspect there, Doug, I will define very easily. Show up with your mess. We all have a mess somewhere. But
Right.
transformation starts with showing your mess. Show
Yeah.
be have humility there.
Right.
Secondly, I say that transformation thrives in a community, which is so true, right? Because isolation is removed. And now it is, okay, share with me your biggest fears. Share with me your biggest hurdles. Every Thursday, I hold a community call. And there's a segment of that community call where I call it the coaches coaching the coaches. And they get to show up with their mess.
Hmm.
And here's the cool part. I have established guidelines and framework on these coaches coaching the coaches because here's what we know. Some coaches will go right into solution mode.
Right.
And so I have them ask one question first. Do you want me to feel this or fix this? Because some people, Doug, just want to share. They
Right.
don't need you to fix it yet because that is their first step to remove fear is they want to just be heard. So I know that transformation thrives in a community. And then lastly, transformation inspires transformation. So when you're building a community and you are looking for an avatar who is willing to transform, the last one there, transformation
Transforms itself.
transform transformation really inspires transformation because
Absolutely.
here's what's going to happen. Doug, your friend's going to say, Doug, something's changed about you.
Mm.
Be like, yeah, let me tell you what I've done.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
fun.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that. I think those three, humility thrives in community, transformation does, and that's I mean that's why we yeah, there's so many good things about that. So well done.
Good.
Yeah. So you already answered the big question, what you've observed the constraint. So would you say the constraint that people have that prevents them from achieving I don't like goals anymore. I really think about achieving meaningfulness is the way
Mm,
I think about it. Goals are actually easy to achieve. It's meaningfulness that's much much more nebulous and hard to grab.
yeah,
But
for
you
sure.
think that's around this idea of isolation and fear, or do you have other constructs you work with?
Well, I think that, and Maxwell says it's the best, is understanding the movement from success to significance.
Right.
And I have lived in seasons of success. And the challenge with seasons of success, I have won well and I have failed miserably. The seasons of success, though, have start and stops. And John says, you got to realize if you're in a leadership role, if you're in a leadership position, there is no finish line. And if you are in a significant space, you don't get to measure a finish line. There is no finish line in your significance space.
Right.
John has this non-for-profit called Equip, and Equip is in the generalized terms, it's his approach to getting his educational leadership material taught in some third world countries. And he's been doing this now for quite some time. We were just at a fundraiser in Puerto Rico last year for Equip. And John knows he has been in a season of significance for quite a long time. And through Equip, he can say, I can identify that I've helped well over 2 million people learn leadership pathways and start to develop a faith-based walk. And he says that when I get up to heaven, it's not going to be, hey, God, nice to meet you. It's look at all these people I brought with me.
Right.
And he says that's his significant path. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
the success path, we've all been down that, and it's not wrong. It is right for seasons of life, though the significant path is much more sustainable and, in my opinion, much more fulfilling.
Yeah. So maybe what actually just thinking out loud, one of the constraints that people have is that they get comfortable with the success. And
Sure.
so even though meaningfulness sounds noble, it's not worth pursuing because then they have to give up the certainty of their success, which is quite comfy in many
Yeah.
situations.
And again, the constraint there is if you're moving to meaningful in your language, meaningful, Doug, is really a powerful word that is probably more soul oriented, which is loving, right?
Hmm.
I had a coach me up one time in the relationship space, and his name is Dr. Kelly Flanagan. I've been married once before and found my amazing life partner now, who we did get married. Her name is Dana. And we were together for about 10 years, maybe about 6, 7 years before I proposed to her. And I hired Dr. Kelly Flanagan because I thought, I made a big mistake the first time. That cost me a lot of money, and I can't afford to do that again. So I'm going to hire a coach to coach me up. And he taught me this one really neat model. And he says, Adam, you got to realize when we come into this world, we are soul oriented. And soul oriented means that we only know how to do two things: give and receive love. And that giving and receiving of love is, if you look at infants, that's what they know to do. They know to go to a mother or a father and give love, receive love, and cry when they're hungry, right?
Hmm.
He says, though, when the brain starts to develop and understand cognitively that it doesn't like sadness, it doesn't like abandonment, it doesn't like pain, it doesn't like any of those things, that the soul actually creates the ego, right? And the ego gets created for one thing and one thing only, and that is to protect the soul. And so as we go through life and we're talking about success space, meaningful space, we get to ask ourselves, okay, what season of life are we in? Are we in the ego space? Are we in the soulful space? Because Dr. Flanagan says one more thing. There's a third layer to it. And the third layer to it is if you think about the seasons of life and you're in a car, who's driving your car? Is it the soul or is it the ego? Remember, the ego's there to protect the soul, but the soul's
Right.
also there to love. He said the last step is being in the back seat. And the back seat is the observer. The
Mm,
observer gets to see your life through the lens of which one is driving. And when you are the observer, you get to be aware of how are you showing up. Are you showing up in an ego way to protect the soul? Or are you showing up in a soulful way, give and receive love? So what we're talking about here, Doug, is the success path. It's not right or wrong. Could be ego driven, and the meaning path and or the significant path could be soul driven, right?
mm. Yeah, and I assume that the success path could be motivated by soul and vice versa. The meaningful
Sure.
path could be ego could take over and make it about being the best meaningful person.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's all
Well, I
about
can
your
speak
motives.
from my experience, and my success path was very ego driven. It was very, very ego driven. Could have been from my days of being a tennis player where it was just me on the court. Though in the same breath, looking back on it, and again, that's not. I don't want to point that as a negative thing, though it wasn't as for me fulfilling.
Yeah.
Wasn't as fulfilling to watch someone have success and impact. That's why I created the vision statement for the I Love Coaching community with these words is to empower coaches. So not just me, but the entire community to empower coaches to change and serve 100 million people. And that was a beach share number that was given to me. So I didn't create that. That was given to me. So it's to change, to empower coaches to change and serve 100 million people through our real coach method.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I love the contrast. You and your father both excelled, in your sports. You have Olympic coach, and then you were a professional. What was your success?
A wannabe
Tennis
professional
player.
tennis player. Wannabe. Yeah. Wannabe.
But I love the contrast of you understand success at a very high level. D1 tennis player, Olympic coach. So it's not that you're talking about it from oh, I couldn't do that. You're actually saying I seen success, I experienced success, and I now am experiencing significance,
Mm.
and I know the difference. And what would you say to the audience? What's the difference, and why is that something? It's not right or wrong, but I think there's a subtle or not so subtle inclination that you might want to consider being the observer in the back seat. Which one's driving you?
Yeah, without sounding crazy cliche here, Doug, is we hear this all the time. When you find a vertical or a pathway or a passion-oriented space, you never work a day in your life. And honestly, I can tell you the last 7 years, have they been business building challenging? Absolutely. Have we failed? Yes. Have we lost money? Yes. Have we made money? Yes. Have we impacted lives? Yes. Lives. And I haven't worked a day in my life though. I had already lost all my hair when I was in the real estate franchise business. So this isn't a stress related thing. That was.
Mhm.
And you know what that was that was if I was to put it from a visual standpoint, that was me pushing a boulder up a mountain when I owned those franchises, but the boulder was square. Right? It was hard. It wasn't rolling. It was I had to really get that thing going. And I woke up daily thinking, man, why is this so hard? And this coach community that we have built, it's still pushing a boulder up a mountain, right? It is to find the right avatar to land and help them the way that we do and serve them the way that we do. I'm still pushing that boulder up the mountain though. This time it's round. And it's not easier, but it's more fulfilling.
Mhm.
And that is just it's just rewarding. So it's rewarding to go to bed at night knowing that I'm doing something that I love. And I think the other motivator personally for me, Doug, is I know my father's looking down and he's proud.
Yeah.
I know he's proud. He never once told me to be a coach. And even though I did teach and coach tennis, um, and he was alive for that, though I think and I know that him looking down right now would say, "Doing good, kid." Oh, here's my dad's favorite line to me, because when he would coach swimmers, they were had to be amateurs back in the day to be
Sure.
to be Olympians, right? So his line to me was not bad for an amateur kid. And so I'll never forget walking off of a professional tennis court, and I did not win. And he said, "That's okay, not bad for an amateur." And so when I got to speak his eulogy, that was the very last thing I said to him, Doug, standing up there at the microphone, and I said, "Dad, you did good. Look at this audience. You did really, really good. Not bad for an amateur." Right. And I was able to walk off. And so I'm sharing that because I don't work a day in my life now. I get to serve people and help them build what they feel called to build. And you know what, Dad? I'm not an amateur anymore.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it's a cliche. I think people think it's a cliche. I think
Mhm.
I I'm at the place where I could retire and I don't want to. And everybody's asking me why not. I'm like, I don't use that word that I don't work a day in my life, but I really don't. So it's like I love what I do, right?
Sure.
I love coaching. I
Mhm.
am your title. So
Yeah.
I love serving. I love giving. And so I think there is I think you are a voice piece for you have your own podcast, by the way. And what is it? Just so that people know. What is it called? I love coaching.
Yeah, it's on brand. I love coaching podcast.
Okay. So make sure to check that out if you love Adam's vibe, and I'm sure you do. Um, yeah, it's you actually represent your transformation is going to be transforming to others by
Mm,
just by showing that work is the contribution that we make, not
mm,
not the I love this metaphor of a square boulder pushing it uphill.
mm.
That's what I think a lot of people think work is, right?
Yeah,
It's an uncomfortable, unnatural
hard.
process of
Mhm.
forcing systems to get what you want out of them. Instead of it's a lot of hard work, but at least it rolls. And so when you get the big mo, as your friend John says, when you get the big mo going, there's something very useful there,
Yeah, yeah,
powerful.
there is. And again, there are listeners right now, Doug, who are pushing that square boulder up the
Lots
mountain.
of them.
Yeah, lots of them. We've all sat in that seat before. And here's what I would share to those people. It's okay. If you're
Mm-hmm.
going to choose to continue to push that boulder up, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Though just know there is something that is probably calling you to take action, to do something or investigate or go check out, right? Something else. And that's why my team and I, we created this simple guide, Doug, and it's a free guide. It simply reads, "Get paid to coach." And it's a 5 page that is informative for you to complete to see who would be your avatar, where would be the lane that you could serve someone. How would you even charge someone? Because those are the 3 questions that we get all the time.
Right.
Is what would I coach? Who would I coach? And how would I charge?
Mm-hmm.
And so we laid that out for them. And the neat part that we've experienced from dealing with people who are pushing that square boulder up the mountain is when they finish a get paid to coach guide and then they say, "Wow, I do have something here that I could serve somebody else with. Let me see if this really works." Next thing you know, we get emails and says, "Holy cow, someone's paying me X number of dollars to show them what I've already learned and failed my way through." And that's how easy this is.
Mm. Yeah, I think the square boulder versus round boulder is a terrific metaphor.
Mm,
I want to kind of close up with this one question, and you've given us nuggets of ideas, but what's one thing that you think a person or leader could do to ignite change within themselves? I got a hint.
mm,
I got a hint about what you might say, but I'm curious if as we leave this conversation, what's one thing if somebody's listening, go, I am pushing a square boulder uphill.
yeah.
What would it
Well,
take to ignite
it,
change?
if I was answering that question for myself, so here's how I would answer that for Adam Roach, is I'd start in prayer first. And I would look for clarity in that. And then as I was going through the process of thinking of change is I would speak to other people,
Yeah.
right? I would have conversations with other people. When I sold my franchises, looking back on it, I had one conversation, right? Actually, I didn't even really have a conversation. I was just kind of told to go surround myself with other people. That's what the message that I was hearing. So I didn't even talk to anybody else. I don't think I would change that, though. Now I've changed. So I have our blueprint right here in front of me. It's version 8, right? This is the 8th version of it, and it's 290 pages long. It's 4 different phases. And inside of that, every single version now is a change that I have leaned into the people who have used it, that I have leaned into other professionals in this space who maybe aren't members of my community. I have surrounded myself with people that are bigger, better, faster, stronger than I am so that I can lean into them as peers. So if someone's thinking about change, don't do it in isolation, right? And the other thing is get clarity on what you want to change to, right? What do you want to change to? You want to change from the medical space to the coaching space. You want to change from the medical space to I can't remember the example you gave there, the photography space, right?
Yeah, photography, right?
Lean into it. Understand what is calling you to that new space. Is it passion driven or is it financial driven? Passion's going to last longer than finances, right? Is it something that is going to have a meaningful, to use Doug's words, a significant impact on the other people around you? And if that is the case, great. Take the
Mhm.
step.
Yeah.
Take the
Well,
step.
and as you mentioned, you didn't even have that clarity. You took the step even without the clarity because something was. So
Yeah,
it's whatever that compelling, if you're not a person of prayer, certainly you can an adequate, not a substitute, but an adequate is to meditate, to contemplate,
journal. Yep.
mindfulness, journaling,
Mhm.
discover what's happening. But then there's something compelling you toward something else. The round boulder image is right there. And I think you and I both can say with great confidence, it doesn't have to be that hard.
No.
Something something's not in alignment in your life if you're pushing square boulders uphill. It just is,
Yeah.
it's not the way
And,
it's designed, I don't
and
think.
the listener who is listening to this right now knows who they are. And they know who they are. And just going back, when I decided to sell my franchises, this is going to sound really silly. I was between wives, so I didn't have to get it approved by anybody, right?
Right,
And I did make the decision. So, gosh, what a feeling of empowerment, if that's where you are, Mr. or Mrs. Listener, right now, is in a season of change. Know how empowering that is to you and surround yourself with people who will be great counsel for you. And
right,
it's okay if someone says that's a dumb idea. That doesn't mean you have to accept it. Right? That you don't have to accept that for what it's worth. What I would say, and this is self-serving, hire a coach or somebody.
there
Hire
you go.
someone that is before you. Going back to being divorced and then getting remarried, I hired a coach. I
Hmm.
had a relationship specific coach who helped me in that space. And he wasn't going to tell me to yes or no propose, but he gave me clarity on myself and what I was thinking to become
Right.
a better version of myself so I could step into that new space and get engaged again.
Yeah. And I love the idea that sometimes they're only a month ahead of you. They don't have to be,
Yeah,
John Maxwell's of the planet. They don't have to be in that 20-year run of significance. They can be right ahead of you and be very helpful. That's a
very
great
true.
encouragement.
Very, very true.
All right, well, thank you. Let's do this again. What a beautiful story and a beautiful message. And I think my takeaway is this idea of isolation
Mm,
is destructive to the human spirit, and I think the world knows that, and yet we're still prone to it. And
yeah.
the recap on resilience story you told earlier, I've done a lot of work in this area. I think isolation is the first move because we've confused resilience with grit, and
Mm,
we think it's a good American thing to bootstrap it up and cowboy it up and go, and it's
that's
just
a that's a whole
not.
nother podcast. Grit
Yeah,
and hustle. What a
right,
horrible 2 words in my opinion.
right, right. Well, thank you, Adam. Appreciate all that you're
Thank you,
doing,
Doug.
and what a beautiful story the last 7 years, and I hope more significance and meaningfulness is right in your future.
Thank you, Doug. Well, I appreciate you having me on your show. I look forward to having you on our show
That
coming
would be
up.
great.
And I'm grateful for the audience to engage with this. So thank
Yep.
you.
ilovecoaching.com, and the podcast is I Love Coaching Podcast. So
Yep.
pretty easy.
Actually, it's I Love Coaching Co, right? It's the
Co.
CO for community. So I Love Coaching
Thank,
Co.com is where you can learn more about who we are and what we do.
thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you
Doug.
for
Appreciate you.
listening, and hope you'll join us again on the Leadership Currency Podcast.